watch this Fallout 4, but Every Gun Fires a Nuke video. The last Fallout stream I did, we speed ran having with somebody as fast as possible. And I did pretty good. So I'm excited to see this.
You to a world where bullets were never invented. Instead, humanity went straight to nuclear weapons, meaning that every firearm, from a homemade pistol to a minigun, is capable of unleashing Armageddon upon your enemies. In this world, there are only 3 rules. 1, you shoot first, or you don't shoot at all. 2, you should always have a backup plan in case you run.
I respect people who play games with no armor. Every Dark Souls I play, you will never catch me with any clothes on. And it's not because I like the models or nothing, it's just because it's more fun.
Run out of ammo. And the most important of all is that water gun fights are now strictly off limits. In a post-apocalyptic setting such as this, there's only one thing left to do. Slavery.
If I was in the apocalypse, I would have a mohawk.
If you've ever watched a soot-encrusted Indonesian man mining sulfur for 7 cents a day and thought to yourself, damn, he's ripping us all off, then I have new...
What the hell just happened? I was talking about something random and I looked up and saw that.
For you, because we are the same person. All of that is to say, I'm a big fan of capitalism, and when it comes to maximizing shareholder value, nowhere does it better than Nuka World. Some people will call this a defunct amusement park taken over by erotic cosplayers, but really, it's just a different kind of amusement now, because we have hundreds of people forced into slave labor using explosive collars. From the moment I saw this 8 years ago, I knew it was my destiny to be the CEO of this wonderful business. So that's our goal. Utilize weapons of mass destruction to take over Nuka World and usher in an era of mega slavery. Can we succeed, or will we be stopped by literally anyone with a gun? There's only...
Does every Fallout game have extreme social issues? Even whenever we were playing like Oblivion, every mother sucker in that game was extremely racist.
One way to tell. But first, I have to watch my wife get shot.
Oh, I remember this part. I've seen this at least 900 times.
That part plays out a little differently in this timeline. So my wife and son were vaporized in a thermonuclear blast. Unfortunate, but from their ashes, a hero was born. We escape the vault and enter into a world whose color scheme could best be described as 50 shades of vomit. From here, we could go straight to Nuka World, but we're level 1, and we have about as many items as a paranoid schizophrenic who thinks the government is spying on him through his microwave. So instead, we'll spend a few hours gathering supplies and trying to reach level 15, at which point we should be ready. I saunter my way into what I assume is modern-day Los Angeles, at which point a Cockney robot attempts to socialize with...
No, this is in LA. There's not enough smog, okay? The minute you land in LA and you walk outside, you go...
with me, but that's exactly what they expect me to do. So instead, I jump on top of my neighbor's roof and dive headfirst into a pool of radioactive sewage. That ought to throw them off. Our first goal is to find a gun, because the power spike from punching things to nuking things is pretty substantial. After wandering around, I find a dead body with a revolver on it, and upon testing it out on some nearby wildlife, I was both excited and terrified at the world I had created.
I like going hunting.
I made my way into a nearby town, where usually a small group of bandits is fighting with some Minutemen. But now, a small group of bandits is committing a nuclear holocaust with some Minutemen. And if you think this is bad, you should have seen it before we reduced the explosion effects. Anyway, I tried silently assassinating the raiders. This was met with very limited success. Eventually, I got tired of role-playing as a high-altitude weather balloon, so I nuked the bandits and entered the museum to help the Minutemen. Or rather, I tried to enter the museum, because as dangerous as nuclear warfare is outside, it's 10 times worse inside. And I got spawn killed for about 20 minutes before I finally made it past the front door. But by that point, I had been ground zero for roughly 35 nuclear detonations. My ears were ringing, my retinas were fried, and there was a very distinct possibility of me vomiting all over my keyboard. But my noble goal gave me the strength to continue. From here, I went room by room.
Have you guys ever used Blingy? Here. I know it's not the greatest example of Blingy.
But my noble goal.
But that is like Blingy. I used to put those on my... Not this one. I used to put them on my Gaia Online profile. Again, not that one.
Gave me the strength to continue. From here, I went room by room, clearing out the raiders in close quarters combat. This is a fantastic way to learn the exact blast radius of a nuclear bomb. Because if you're off by even an inch, your limbs will eject from your body like rocket-propelled grenades. Eventually, I made it to Preston Garvey, who wasted no time complaining about how hard his life is. Just wait until he hears about my plans for Nuka World. Preston had me climb up to the roof and equip this suit of power armor. I was feeling very confident until a drug-fueled maniac
Wait, I can't remember. Does the power armor suit have a machine gun? Because then would the machine gun be 9 million nukes?
Yak popped out from around a corner and gave me both barrels of his shotgun, a phrase which has recently intensified in meaning since each pellet is now its own nuke. Honestly, I had a lot of difficulty at this section because the minigun takes half a second to spin up, and if a raider happens to squeeze out even a single shot in that time, it's all over. But if I've learned anything from watching a homeless man avoid arrest by—
He should also do this with Power Wash Simulator.
drinking his vodka out of an antifreeze bottle, it's that necessity breeds innovation. Come to think of it, that might have actually just been antifreeze. Regardless, I pioneered a new combat strategy, that is the mortar technique.
Yes,
Instead
like
of shooting at my enemies,
I
just kind of carpet bombed the entire town with poorly aimed artillery.
How does a computer load this? This is a super
And
PC
it worked
NASA
really
computer.
well. From here, I jumped off the roof and did my best to crush Preston like an ant.
Imagine checking the weather for the day. I'm excited to go to town. Yeah, the weather says raining bombs from the sky. Yeah, I think I'm just gonna stay home.
When that failed, I settled for finishing off the raiders and laughing at the Deathclaw's attempt to intimidate me. Following this, I went inside, Preston thanked me, and Mama Murphy gave me the perfect setup for a joke.
We're all gonna die eventually.
Yep. After reloading, we all went to Sanctuary and started drinking from the same toilet bowl because we are now friends. In fact, Sturgis asked me if I could build everyone some beds so they didn't have to sleep underneath bridges and inside of burnt-out cars. I looked him straight in the eye and said I would do that.
I don't know where I'd be without you guys.
In fact, I immediately left
Probably
Sanctuary and never contacted any of these strange people again in my entire life. At this point, we're level 3 and I've got a decent selection of guns, but I'd still like to gain access to some better perks before taking on Nuka World. So I began doing odd jobs around the wasteland.
I wanna know
First
what
mission,
perks.
a filthy woman wants me to go to this place.
And what is wrong with being a filthy woman, okay? Sometimes you don't have time for a shower. Happens to the best of us.
And kill all of these people. No problem. I travel to the Corvega factory and start using my mortar technique to soften up their defenses. It takes only 9 seconds for me to accidentally nuke myself. That's a personal best. Eventually, I make my way inside and begin atomizing the inhabitants while the building vibrates violently with each shot. Luckily, the other raiders convince themselves it was just the wind. Now, you might think the best weapon for room clearing would be a shotgun, but you'd be wrong. And I found this out the hard way, because the spread on a shotgun means it's almost impossible to aim it straight, and despite your best efforts, you will hit either the floor or the ceiling, and the resulting blast will almost certainly turn you into a human jigsaw puzzle. This happened to me more times than I'd like to admit, before I begrudgingly filed the double-barrel shotgun next to Reggie Fan Meetup in the category of things that sound fun but will probably get me killed. I also tried hacking into this cute little security robot so he could help me clear out the bandits. He lasted all of 3 seconds before they murdered him in cold blood.
No!
This was the single biggest mistake the raiders could have made, because his existence was the only thing stopping me from doing this.
That's what I think I do to robots when I don't say thank you after I ask a question. It probably is the same amount of pain.
Yes, indeed, the bandits were dead. Completing this quest got us to level 6 and allowed me to unlock the Mysterious Stranger perk, which is now substantially more satisfying because yes, he does shoot nuclear bombs. This was good, but we still have a long way to go, so I continued on my quest to convert every living being into experience points.
Ow!
It went a little like this. I start the day with some train yard hobos.
Way
First
more
you shoot them, then you beat them. 8 experience each. Also, tried my hand at cattle wrangling.
8 XP. What's the game chat where they're like, ranking from level 99 to 100 is the same as like the whole game? I think it's RuneScape, and I think I actually butchered the crap out of that sentence. That wasn't even remotely close to the actual statement that people say. It's RuneScape, but I can't remember what the quote is.
I think I'm a natural. A shipyard? Break into a shipyard. It's full of murder crabs. Now it's not. Apparently, the owner was trying to domesticate them by playing soothing messages on the PA. It didn't work. That was a lot of effort. Let's go ahead and take a rest for the night in this old building. Never mind, the universe hates us and we've just been ambushed in our sleep by attack dogs.
I hate when you can't sleep because enemies, but my least favorite thing in all of video games is when you aren't trusted to open the map if there's enemies nearby. Just, if I die, it's my fault. Let me open the map, man.
Plunged the world into nuclear winter in retaliation. After that, I went to Bunker Hill, where I spent 20 minutes marveling at the ugliest human being I have ever seen, which is strong words coming from someone who looks in the mirror every morning.
Wow,
Once I was
cheekbones were
done, I went to
crazy.
the Drumlin Diner to try to negotiate peace between some raiders and the store owner. When I told the lady I wouldn't be taking her side, she presented me with a very compelling argument.
She's gonna seduce him. Oh.
But two can play at that game.
Holy crap!
Say what you
Well,
want,
they're
but
dead.
this is the fastest method of de-escalation. Following this, we got a quest to kill everyone inside this preschool. Don't worry, the kids are already dead. We're just killing
okay.
the raiders. I
That's
nuked
not that bad,
every
then.
room with extreme prejudice, but still died anyway because the whole place is booby-trapped and tripwire guns now fire atomic bombs. But it's okay, because we can always retreat to the public bathroom to brew more health potions.
Is this what boys do in the bathroom? I've always wondered. Because you guys go by yourself, but women always go together. So you're just in there cooking the soup? Oh, okay. Thank you. I've always wondered about that.
If
The only other thing which I say all the time is I know you guys put toilet paper in the toilet and then you let it get really wet and then you throw it on the ceiling. I've heard about that.
Eventually, I find their leader and introduce him to the concept of a glory hole before stuffing his charred corpse into a garbage bin. Finally, I finish by releasing all of his captives, except for you. Someone has to stay behind to tell the people
Aww.
about my good deeds.
Poor
After all that,
guy.
we're now level 10, and I've even figured out how to craft bear traps, which I have successfully
Wow.
stress tested on a small child. Works like a charm.
Running!
Let's finish up a few more quests and then go straight to Nuka World. I was in Bunker Hill admiring the absolute girth of this man's biceps
he's
when I
got,
was
like,
approached by Edward
vascularity.
Deegan. He took me to Cabot House to accept a quest from John Cabot, who wants us to steal some secret serum from a psychotic gentleman living in a shack on top of a hill, which is fine. However, John bears a striking resemblance to the Zodiac
Oh, he does look like the Zodiac Killer. What the hell? Wait, so if he's doing it for the Zodiac Killer, then that means he can go to jail because this guy could rat him out like we saw in the crime video we just watched.
killer, and so I wasn't sure if I could trust him. That's why I covertly
Yeah, Ted
stole and hid
Cruz.
exactly one of his pool balls. If he betrays me, he'll never get this back, and the loss of a singular ball in an otherwise perfect set will almost certainly drive him to a suicidal rage. This is what we call establishing collateral. Anyway, I
like
went
the
to the
goggles.
insane guy's shack to
I
get
love
the
character
serum,
with
but
big
an
goggles.
acorn fell on the ground and it spooked me, so I spent the next 55 seconds nuking the man's house until I stopped getting hit markers.
He's dead, man! He's dead!
I grabbed the vial, went back to Cabot, lied to him, and said the serum was gone before taking it out of my inventory, waving it in front of his face, and injecting it into my neck just for fun. For good measure, I also smashed a bunch of his research equipment and stole this fancy camera.
What was he doing with his hands?
For fun. For good measure, I also smashed a bunch of
Oh my god, he's getting
his
freaky.
research equipment and stole this fancy camera. Only one more quest to go, then we're off to Nuka World. It's time to go help Paladin dance.
I'm over here stroking my dick. I got lotion.
This is the third time I've heard this audio this week, by the way. I don't know why it's following me. At this point, I feel like I'm inviting the audio.
I rushed to his distress signal as fast as I could, but upon arriving, it seemed like he had things under control.
Hi.
I talked to Dance, and he asked me to accompany him on a mission to salvage technology from some nearby
a
ruins.
fridge?
This quest was awful, but I do have a few tips. First of all, you're going to come across a gang of bandits robbing some traders. This is an interesting interaction that I recommend observing from a distance. Second, if you hear any variation of the phrase, "We've got company," you need to run for cover, because there is a 90% chance Paladin Dance is about to pivot like LeBron James and nuke the shit out of you for being within 20 feet of a bloatfly.
We've got company.
If and when you do finally make it to the destination, the synths inside are very dangerous, so I recommend a tactical approach, such as watching through a sheet of plexiglass as Paladin Dance
I love how they ragdoll. It kind of just reminds me of whenever you think of the cringiest thing you've ever done in your life at night and it wakes you up and you...
does all the hard work. Also, When you get to the basement, don't forget to accidentally melt off Dance's face with this rocket exhaust. Trust me, he actually likes it. After that, you just go upstairs, grab the tech, and it's all over. It's not a great quest, but it does give us the junk jet, which is some kind of pneumatic catapult for weaponizing random garbage. While it doesn't
I always forget how much random crap you pick up in Fallout games. Or maybe it's me. I don't know. I see item and I just go, okay, I'll take it, I'll take it, I'll take it, I'll take it. Then I have a ton of crap in my inventory. And then I never use it either because I always think, oh, well, what if I need it later? Like, I could probably do it without this or without that. And then it just makes the pile even bigger and bigger and bigger.
Fire atomic bombs, it does allow me to kill my opponents by cracking them in the forehead with dirty cigarette trays, which is something that resonates with me deeply. Finally, we're now level 16 with maxed out luck, a few helpful perks, and a new rifle that has a 50-round drum mag along with a bayonet for close quarters combat.
Ooh, I like the bayonet.
Before we go
That's
any
cool.
further, I need to warn you about something, because the fine people at Makeship have infiltrated my apartment, stolen my genetic material, and created hundreds of clones of me that are conveniently the correct
Sorry, I did a plushie pledge and I was halfway there and today was the last day. And now I'm gonna cry myself to sleep.
size and shape to fit inside of a mason jar. But you wouldn't do that to me, right? Anyway, for
What was that?
size and shape to fit inside of a mason jar. But you wouldn't
I'm gonna read this really fast and I'm gonna go as fast as I can. But if you would like to skip, just press the forward button 3 times. Hey guys, did you know that terms and mail of human... Actually, I realized that I don't want to read that.
do that to me, right?
Never mind,
Anyway,
never
for a limited
mind.
time, we're going
I
to be
didn't do a pre-read, okay? I didn't do a pre-read. I definitely should have pre-read that. I just thought it was gonna be something nice, like we love your videos, man. Kissy emoji, but it was Vaporeon.
selling these Reggie plushies, and I highly recommend picking one up. But
I like
Reggie,
the
what can I
mascot.
use
He's so
this
cute.
for? Well, I like to use mine as my own personal hostage. You see, he's relatively small, which makes him very easy to overpower. Sometimes I also like to wave a big knife in front of his face.
Oh
It
my
fills
God, I
me
would
with a sense
cry.
of control that I've long since lost in my life. Also, he has no legs with which to run, no mouth with which to scream, only eyes with which he may observe me perform my elaborate war dances as I prepare to take his life. But if that's not exactly
little
your
guy.
style, he also makes a pretty good stress ball. So you've got 30 days to take me hostage. Do you think you have what it takes?
I don't think I've ever
If
used
so,
a stress
click the
ball.
pinned
Chad,
link
have
in
you
the
used a
comments
stress
and
ball?
put yourself down for as much of me as you think you can handle. Then prepare yourself. Now back to the video.
The only thing I've ever wanted to play with that's kind of Zoomer is sometimes they'll have advertisements for it where it's a thing that you hold in your hand and it has little like buttons that pop up and you press start and it lights up a button. You have to press them as fast as you can in a row and then it'll redo it and you go to different levels and stuff.
Video. I arrived at the Nuka World Transit Center with determination because from here we can take a tram to the amusement park. The only thing stopping us is a small army of bandits, robots, and rooftop
That was
snipers.
kind of a hot robot. Is that weird?
I must have died
No,
about
'cause
15
2B's a
times at this
robot.
part before I settled on just
And she's
firing
hot.
30 nukes into the sky and hiding in a parking garage while all of my enemies were turned to ash. I made my way down to the tram where this guy was telling me raiders had taken his family hostage at Nuka World. Apparently he escaped but was shot in the process. But the fact he didn't have a single drop of blood anywhere on his body led me to believe this man was a liar. So I politely excused myself, loaded up my junk jet with steel ingots, and then came back and pulverized his heart with a high-velocity metal slug. Now his story about being wounded is a lot more believable. After this, I jumped on the tram and it took me to the promised land. I arrived.
Wow, they have public transportation, but where I live doesn't. Damn.
And it was beautiful. A voice came over the speaker and told me 2 things. 1, I'm trapped, and 2, the only way to escape is to survive the gauntlet. I surveyed my surroundings and found the dead bodies of several half-eaten male prostitutes. So I'm going to go ahead and say my chances aren't great, but let's give it a shot. Room 1, a large lobby full of rusted junk. If the tetanus doesn't kill you, the machine gun turrets firing nukes definitely will.
Who is loading up those turrets with bullets? Hi, bye! Thank you! I appreciate it! That was really nice! Thank you for your compliment!
Also, the ceilings are very low, which makes it easy for you to blow yourself up. So I recommend using VATS. Even if your chance to hit
See,
is
guys,
low,
being
it doesn't
short
really
does
matter
have its
because atomic
advantages.
bombs are more of a to whom it may concern type
It's good
weapon
to be
anyway.
short.
After that, it's on to room 2. This room was supposed to be armed with several booby traps. However, the nuclear detonation we unleashed on the last room seems to have spilled over and disabled most of them. The key word being most.
That's dangerous.
After reassembling my body parts, I moved to room 3,
Wow, he was
which
quick with
presented us
it.
with 3 doors to choose from. Door 2 was a room full of human heads which appear to have been decapitated in
Is
the
that a
middle of
bomb?
nutting, while door 3 contained a bouquet of live grenades.
That was literally the meme, chat. Who's getting the best head?
Decapitated in the middle of nutting, while door 3 contained a bouquet of live grenades. I'm flattered. Escaping through door 1 led us to a radiation room which was giving me 60 rads per second.
Wow.
In order to avoid developing stage
That's
4
not
League
rad.
of Legends, I took a near lethal
Boo,
dose
throws
of
tomatoes,
radiation
boo.
medication and ran around in a fugue state
Oh,
until I
he's
found the
tripping.
keys to escape. Next was a maze full of bizarre traps and animatronic aliens. Fairly simple,
was kinda
just don't
cute.
underestimate the overgrown rats, because they will
Oh,
not
I hate
hesitate
rats.
to
If
put
they don't
you
got
down.
pizza in their mouth,
After
they're
this
trying to
was a
bite
tunnel
you.
full
They're
of
trying to get a piece of
landmines.
you.
Sprint through it at top speed and across this definitely
Oh,
up to code
obby, obby.
wooden bridge. Uh-oh, it collapsed, and you're now being attacked by shellfish. Assert terrestrial dominance before proceeding to the hardest room of all, the gas chamber. It's here where we get locked into a room which is quickly filling with phosphine
Wait, he's locked in a room with rats. Rubber rats.
gas. If we don't get through this door in the next 30 seconds, we'll be dead. So here's the plan. Take a bunch
Okay.
of drugs to numb the pain of your
Yeah,
lungs being
might
dissolved.
as
Stab all
well.
these bugs while making
Ugh.
sure to fill your pockets with their succulent
Smallest
meat for later.
Australian
And then
bug, by
hop
the
on this
way.
computer and open the escape door. That leads us to a shed full of flying ants, which are surprisingly
Ew!
difficult to hit.
Wait, are there really flying ants? My room has ants because I spill stuff all the time. I just spilled a Red Bull like 2 days ago. I had to get a new keyboard because I spilled nacho sauce all over it, and now it has mold on it. And I had to get a new mixer because I spilled Papa John's garlic pizza sauce on it. Yeah, if you guys saw my room, you would probably cry.
It with a nuke. The torture of this room is a little more abstract, but it's very real nonetheless. Then quickly run through this cage area while people shoot at you from above. Just kidding, you can't do this quickly and you're going to die at least a dozen times.
Stop eating at your setup. I can't stop eating at my setup, guys. If I have food and no video, I can't eat. I have to have food and video. You think I'm a pilgrim?
But after that, we're finally at the last stage of the gauntlet. See that guy down there in the power armor covered in blood? Yeah, we're going to fight him and he's invincible. But we have a secret weapon. It's not a high-powered rifle or even a rocket launcher.
Oh my
Instead,
God.
our secret weapon is a plastic water
a
gun.
thirst
The plan,
zapper.
in theory,
I've
is that
never
our
seen
enemy is
that.
receiving power to his suit from this exposed electrical line. And if we
Oh,
can cover him
that
in
seems
water,
safe.
well, that probably wouldn't be very good. All right, let's give it a
He
shot.
smiled
They
after getting
counted us
sprayed.
down and opened the gates, at which point I charged headfirst into my opponent. He responded by blowing off all of my limbs with a nuclear bomb. Clearly,
Never bring a water gun to a nuclear bomb fight. Okay, write that down. It could save your life one day.
we need a different approach. The guy is actually invincible, but I found
Wow.
out that I can stay in the starting area and snipe him with the water gun to disable his armor. Then
Dead by
I followed
Daylight
up with like
gameplay.
20 nukes to finish him off. Following this, a lot of exposition happens, but I'm going to summarize it
That
really
is a
quickly.
lot of
That guy we
yapping,
just
and I'm a
electrocuted,
professional
yeah,
yapper.
he was the CEO of Nuka World, and the raiders that live here
Oh.
seem to put a lot of respect on violently murdering
Wait, so is Nuka World, like I said before, the only way I've actually played this game is I did a speed run. But is Nuka World like Disney World for people who live here and zombies and stuff? They still have Disney?
your political opponents, so they now recognize me as their leader. This is fantastic, and it comes with a lot of
Oh.
perks. For example, I now live at
Coca-Cola
the peak of Fizz Top Mountain with a lovely view over all of my employees.
Nuka World is like Universal Studios. Well, that's good because I think Universal is better than Disney. I love Universal. I used to ride the Velocicoaster all the time.
Are now one of my elite employees.
Also, since I'm the boss, I can go to the market, steal things right out of the display case, and then sell them back to the shop owner for free money. The downside is that
Yeah,
Nuka World is
employees
divided
used
into
lightly
6
there.
parks, with only one of them being under our control. So it's our job to liberate the remaining parks directly into my authoritarian governance. Then, once we have them, we can distribute them to the different raider factions according to which of their political
Whoa.
philosophies I find the most amusing.
I think my big fat head was covering
Different
that.
raider factions according to which of their political
Sorry. I don't know why I was put on sociopathy. Guys, I'm not a sociopath, but that was weird that that was perfectly lined up.
philosophies I find the most amusing. So it's time to go meet the gangs. Operating out of Fizztop Mountain is the Disciples, which is a faction that couldn't be any edgier even if they were actively pulverizing the elderly in a hydraulic press. This is strangely juxtaposed against the fact that they don't know how many belts you can wear before people stop taking you seriously. Overall, they're my second favorite. The second faction is the Operators. Their primary concern is making
ops?
money at the cost of human life, which is my personal favorite philosophy. However, they have some shared mental disorder, which precludes them from wearing clothes that actually fit. I don't know exactly why, but this makes me extraordinarily angry, and I regularly have to restrain myself from killing them.
goggles! Yeah, those are
Fortunately,
cute.
I found a good compromise. Instead of creating a civil war by nuking their entire faction, I just swing by every few days, find a random operator, and secretly deposit a live grenade.
I would be so scared if I went in my back pocket looking for my phone and I pulled out a live grenade.
In his pocket.
Whoa, incoming!
Blast
Okay, I think that was my favorite part of the video so far.
Lastly, there's the pack. They have a relatively experimental aesthetic, along with a nice selection of chairs.
Whoa, wait, how do I get one of those?
But whenever you want to talk
I did see somebody was on, I think it was on eBay or something. They were making tables that looked like Club Penguin characters. I thought that was awesome.
to their leader, you're going to be forced to listen to the bite.mp3 sound effect for hours on end, because they installed a dogfight pit in the middle of their base.
Is this real or a mod? Or did he do that?
MP3 sound effect for hours on end, because they installed a dogfight pit
This is real? Are you serious? This is in the game? Oh my god.
in the middle of their base. This immediately and irreparably
It's super annoying. That's DLC? Oh my god. DLC? Does that stand for Dogs Like Combat?
disqualifies them from receiving any further attention from me whatsoever. With introductions out of the way, it's time to start expanding our operation and making some big money. There's 5
Yes.
parks to acquire: Galactic World, Dry Rock Gulch, Safari Adventure, the Nuka-Cola Bottling Plant, and Kitty Kingdom. First up is Galactic World. This is a space-themed park inhabited by hundreds of robots. However, someone spilled their Dr. Pepper
I do that! I just talked about that!
on the AI mainframe, and it caused the robots to become
That was
violent
very
murder
POV.
machines. It's not great for business, so I went there and started fighting my way through the streets. The first thing I noticed was that there's plenty of laser turrets
Laser
all over the
turret.
premises.
I guess a laser wouldn't... I don't know. Does a laser count as a projectile? I feel like I'm fighting against Yasuo.
Luckily, they don't seem to work very well, and usually spend their entire time in a life-or-death battle against the ceiling. However,
okay,
don't
they
get
do
too
count as
comfortable,
nukes.
because on at least one occasion, the air pressure from these explosions caused my cranium to detonate forcefully. Other than that, just keep an eye out for Mr. Frothy, who is
hi.
very fast and will startle you into jumping off a bridge and subsequently dying in a nuclear explosion.
Bad
Anyway,
obby.
I made my way to the control room, where I'm able to turn off the robots. Only problem, it's broken, and it needs a total of 20 star cores to repair it.
20?
Unfortunately, they're scattered all over the park in the
Oh,
safekeeping of several
no.
automatons that would like to crush my neck like a can
Oh,
of
whoa,
soda.
whoa, 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 whoa. I just looked up and saw Wiener and I got scared and now I paused and it looks like exploded Wiener.
But much like a restraining order, I viewed this as a challenge rather than a problem. Do you really think I can't get within 100 feet of you? So I began wandering around looking for these cores, which led me to a building called the Robco Battle Zone. My hopes of this name being metaphorical were quickly dashed when upon
Maybe it's
entering
Rob and
I
Company.
died about 37 different times.
there's a lot of
Part of the
company in
issue
there.
is that the mini nuke mod isn't working perfectly on the robots, and some of them are shooting me with laser beams. While my supple body is perfectly optimized for dying in nuclear explosions, it does very little to protect me against this space-age technology. But just like how the lifeguards at the YMCA can't stop me from drinking the pool water,
That was piss water. That's just like my Sprite with tea.
these robots couldn't stop me from blasting my way into the battle zone, at which point I was promptly locked inside and forced to fight a variety of enemies which entered from these doors and these hydraulic
Hey guys, stop
platforms.
making the robots
were
hot.
tough, but the primary difficulty in this cramped space was finding a place to detonate a nuke that wouldn't instantly vaporize me. First, we had to survive some Protectrons and a swarm of iBots. No problem.
Oh
Then
my
it was on
gosh,
to the
they have great
Novatrons,
aim.
even easier. Then our final opponent was the Space Sentry.
It looks like Urgot. Urgot to be kidding me. Level 100 boss versus level 1 noob.
Yeah, he got the better of me. But as the
Yeah.
saying goes, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, I'll obliterate you with nuclear weapons. And
Now
we
watch
did
this
just
drive.
that. With the battle zone conquered, I gathered all the space cores and moved on to the next building, the
Yay!
Interstellar Theater. Surely a fucking theater can't be as dangerous as the battle zone, I thought to myself. But boy, was I wrong. Very, very, very wrong. The entire
How is this not
auditorium
crashing
was
his
full of
computer?
robots, and honestly, I was only able to conquer this area through the repeated use of a strategy I like to call kill one guy and then save the game. While searching for the
I
star
hate having
cores,
to
I
do
found
that.
a
It takes
Nuka-Cola mixing
forever.
station, which allowed me to combine a Nuka-Cola
Whoa, wait, you can mix the Nuka-Colas? I like that. It's like whenever you go to the big, what are they called? Freestyle machines. But this is not free, is it?
Searching for the star cores, I found a Nuka-Cola mixing station,
Whoa, this is nuts. I didn't know you could make beverages.
which allowed me to combine
Oh, one of them had dirty water in them. I don't think I would drink a drink with dirty water.
a Nuka-Cola beer with another Nuka-Cola beer to create double beer. Some people will claim that
Whoa.
AI and vaccines are the greatest advancements of the past century. But to that I ask, can you get drunk on polio vaccines? I didn't think so.
guess
That's why
not.
double beer is
Yeah, I'm sure that was double beer. This is the craziest Bara drawing I've ever seen in my life, and I only know that word because I had a DeviantArt account, so don't look too deep into that.
the real scientific pinnacle of our generation. After completing my schizophrenic monologue about alcohol, I found the star cores next to a few decomposing junkies in the washroom. Very nice. The last building wasn't as bad. Vault Tech Among the Stars is a recreation vault life experience, outfitted with realistic living rooms, indoor gardens, and even
garden?
an entire room dedicated to giving you cancer. I'm feeling
Cool.
nostalgic already. Strangely, as my character progressed through this area, he was getting recurring headaches.
Are there armors that make it to where you don't take rad, like, poisoning? Is there a way to make you immune to that, but is he just, like, being a Giga Chad so he has no armor on? So he just keeps taking all of the rad damage?
I chalked it up
yes,
to a
yes, yes.
brain tumor and thought nothing of it, but it turns out the whole vault was actually just
What
one
is he
giant
saying?
experiment in subliminal messaging. According to this observation log, they're broadcasting a high frequency
Was it
over the
Akira?
PA that's meant to induce degenerate behavior
Get out
such
of
as
my
pissing
head!
your pants. Joke's on them, they just wasted millions of dollars to make me do something that I was already going to do
Yeah,
anyway. Following
baby,
this, I slaughtered a
stonks.
bunch of automatons, found a really nice shotgun, immediately flashed back to all of those times I killed
that
myself
seems
with a
risky.
shotgun, and then quickly unequipped it before finding the remaining star
Good
cores and
decision.
rushing back to the mainframe. With the help of computer scientist extraordinaire and
He's getting raptured live! Goodbye.
the definitely not dead person Kendall Alston, I was able to repair the computer and pacify all of the AI, meaning we can
Holy
now walk around the
hackermans.
park without having to worry about a medical
That sign made me laugh. It was the perfect thing for him to put in the
pacify all
video.
of the AI, meaning we can now walk
Have a nuke.
around the park
I think I'm full fine. I would prefer no more. Thank you. Rico, thank you for the 5 gifted. Can we get to 5 grapes in the chat? Rico, thank you. See, imagine if those were nukes. That would have really hurt.
without having to worry about a medical robot electrifying our
pickle?
testicles. With the robots subjugated, I went upstairs and raised a flag to officiate the conquest of Galactic World. Our
Whoa.
empire is expanding, and the next theater of war is the Wild West.
Cowboys, let's go. Woo! Here. Okay, let's go together. Yes! Yeah,
Dry Rock
brother!
Gulch is an arid wasteland and
Electric, thanks to the 5 gifted partner. Can we get 5 creepies of the chat? Thank you, partner. I appreciate it, partner. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
inhabited primarily by dead bodies, which should make it an easy target. So I made my way there and quickly realized where all the dead bodies came from, because within
Where?
moments of arriving, I was attacked by subterranean bloodworms.
Did
Yeah,
they
these little
explode?
bastards tunnel around underground and then ambush you when you least expect it, which means they're either underground, so you can't kill them,
That
or they're
sucks.
firmly latched onto your jugular vein in such
Maybe
a way
get,
that
like,
makes
X-ray
using
vision?
a nuclear bomb seem a little too risky. In this case, I recommend treating the entire area as a high
He's fighting like 900 Alaskan bullworms. That seems very difficult. I don't even know if I can fight one. Hi, Magnus.
stakes game of The Floor is Lava. Eventually, I came down to chat with the sheriff, who informed me that he'll give us the park if we can get rid of the bandits coming out of this building. One
Okay.
problem, the building is locked, and I need combination codes from the Giddy Up Kid, One-Eyed Ike, and Phosphorus Pete to gain entry. I really
Wow.
wish he told me this before I carpet bombed the entire park, because I'm pretty sure I killed all of those people.
Wait, in Fallout 4, you can kill NPCs that you need? Oh, brother. That is really, really bad. You can just kill them? At least in the Oblivion remaster, I don't know if it was like this in the original. Whenever there was a character that you needed later, they would have like a crown indicator and they couldn't die. That was good. I cannot imagine killing somebody I needed to talk to and then realizing 50 years later and crying myself to sleep.
This was an irritating development, but my anger quickly faded after the sheriff appointed me as his deputy and gave me this excellent cowboy outfit. Upon
Me too,
reloading the
brother.
save, I found the Giddy Up Kid, who explained that some cattle rustlers had stolen his loyal steed, and he wants me to bring it.
Wait, can you actually
Giddy
transport
Up
a
Kid,
horse
who
like
explained
that?
that some cattle rustlers
Can you do that? Whoa! You can put a horse on a plane! But then how does he deal with the snakes on there?
had stolen his loyal steed, and he wants me to bring it back. In case you're wondering, he's talking about an inanimate object, but it was like 4 a.m. at this point in the recording, so I just played along with it.
Rustle up some horses for you, huh, cowboy? I'll be back before sundown.
I searched the grounds for all
Yeah.
of 13 seconds before finding the torso of a Giddy-Up Buttercup stuffed inside this man's anal cavity.
Oh,
I grabbed it
whoa,
and
whoa,
dropped its
whoa,
dismembered
whoa,
body
whoa.
inside the horse pen. Our friend was mildly dismayed.
What happened to Giddy Up Buttercup?
Aww.
They butchered her up.
Guys, I don't know why I've been so emotional lately. I'm about to cry. I feel so bad for him. He doesn't get Giddy Up Buttercup. And earlier I was listening to the song Lumiere when I was driving to the store, and my AC's out in the car. So I had all the windows down. I was kind of blasting it, and I started crying. And then I'm pretty sure the guy at the red light looked over at me like I was a total weirdo freak.
Like a cow.
But he
I've
still
been
gave us
crying
his
a
part of the
lot.
combination code, so I don't really care. Next, I sauntered into a saloon where I met Phosphorus Pete. He wants us to deliver some Nuka-Cola to the residents of Dry Rock Gulch. No problem.
The people of Dry Rock go.
And before you ask, yes, all of the people we delivered soda to were in fact dead bodies, which I made
Oh.
sure to tell Pete.
I'm afraid everyone's dead.
Well, that ain't good.
Doesn't matter though, the quest is done, and Pete rewarded
I
us
like
with
the
his
robots.
code, along with a large quantity of alcoholic Nuka-Cola,
people
which
like
I quickly
the
became
robots in this
addicted
game?
to. From here, I sought out One-Eyed Ike to complete our final test, which, much to my dismay, would be a duel at 10 paces.
Oh,
Ike gave me a
fun!
44 Magnum and started counting down, but unfortunately, I was still stun-locked by the idea
think
that
he
an
realized
amusement
what he
park
signed up
mascot
for.
was programmed to hand out loaded revolvers to children before shooting them, which resulted in Ike getting the better of me. Second attempt at the duel, I won, but I won a little too hard, and Ike wasn't alive to give me his code. Third time's the charm. For this, I decided to swap to the junk jet,
That's
and
a good
after
idea.
blasting Ike in the head with a steel ingot and an empty beer bottle, he conceded defeat and gave me the final piece
He's
of
like
code.
Metal Gear
Now we
throwing
can enter
mags
this
at
mine
people.
shaft, destroy the Bloodworm Queen, and claim Dry Rock Gulch. Honestly, this part
Bloodworm
was pretty
Queen.
easy. There's really only two things you need to do. One, make sure you break into the office so you can equip this cool duster and pretend you're playing an actually good Fallout game.
Whoa, that outfit is sick. And he didn't have to pay $5.99 $4.99 for it, or use what were they using, atoms and stuff?
And this last thing should go without saying, but do not jump in the pit full of dead cows, because they'll erupt with dozens of bloodworms, and it makes for a very stressful experience. Other than that, I just nuked everything.
The only New Vegas thing, I think it's from New Vegas. The only New Vegas thing I know is Tunnel Snakes Rule. Is that New Vegas? But these aren't snakes, they're worms. I guess tunnel worms rule. Oh, that's 3. Dang it. Dang it, dang it, dang it. What's a New Vegas quote? Can you guys teach me one? That way I can tell it to everybody. Oh, I did learn another word yesterday. I learned it when I was watching Combo Breaker. They were saying something got downloaded. Wait, War Never Changes is from New Vegas? I thought that was from 4. Wait, it goes, War never changes. I can't remember. Sometimes my brain just go
Inside and completed the quest.
Oh, it's from all of them. Whoa. I didn't know they always said that.
Too bad. After raising the flag, we're all done at Dry Rock Gulch, and on to the next target, Safari Adventure. I approached the park and observed a man doing battle with a large creature. I chased it off by shooting it with 3 nukes.
If Pokemon were in real life, that's what would happen to everybody.
This was not a good sign. Anyway, the guy started talking to me, and from a distance I had assumed he was some kind of male stripper, meant to appeal to the female fantasy of being bludgeoned to death with a sledgehammer. But actually, he's just a caveman who was raised by gorillas, which is marginally more believable. His name is Cedo, and he used his caveman dialect to explain that Safari Adventure is overrun with gator claws that are being cloned in a big triangle house, and I need to disable the cloning machine to claim the park. I briefly considered putting a revolver in my mouth as a preferable alternative, but after I heard him using 150% of his brain power to forcibly enunciate the word facility, I felt bad and accepted the quest.
Facility.
So I set out searching for a key to the triangle house, and thankfully the gators weren't much of a problem. I mean, they didn't have any nukes, which was a pretty big deal right off the bat. However, they are very tanky, so just use literally any gun that goes full auto and you should be absolutely fine.
Oh,
in fact, if you want to make it especially simple, you can just go to the top of this treehouse and firebomb the entire map. Honestly, I think the hardest battle I had here was against my alcoholism that I had acquired in Dry Rock Gulch. Eventually, I found the key, let myself into the cloning facility, and started clearing it out. I felt kind of guilty for slaughtering all these dumb animals with nuclear weapons, so I thought I'd try fist fighting one of them just to get my anger levels back up again. It worked like a charm. Anyway, I blasted some gators, hacked into this computer, and turned off the cloning device. I told Cedo the good news, and he was so excited.
This is like lore your dad never tells you, and then one day he drops it, and you go, wow, Dad, you lived a crazy life. This is insane to be doing in like a 1-minute period.
That he gifted me a rocket-propelled aluminum bat that presumably he has engineered himself. Not really clear on that. What I am clear on is that the park now belongs to us. On that note, let's go to the 4th park, the Nuka-Cola bottling plant. An industrial complex which, judging by the automated turrets and unmarked minefields, was probably run by Jeff Bezos. There's also a little section called the World of Refreshments, which I spent some time exploring. And by exploring, I mean I was pulverizing crustaceans to death with a
Wait, if this is the World of Refreshments, are you supposed to drink the pool water?
baseball bat. Back outside, I was feeling a little guilty about the power disparity between myself and the crabs, so I decided to handicap myself by asserting my vertebrate dominance with nothing but a flare gun. This was a massive mistake, because out of the lake emerged the Queen Mirelurk, and she's pretty tough. A direct hit with the nuke does about 10% damage, and sometimes she likes to spit acid on me and melt off all of my skin. And as if that wasn't bad enough, she has a whole harem of Mirelurk kings to chase me down and pound the shit out of me while I'm reloading. However, I navigated this problem by applying my universal solution, which was to take a lot of drugs and run really, really fast. This helped create some distance, which allowed me to pick off the ads before circling back and slow motion nuking the Queen Mirelurk to an early retirement. I cannot imagine how embarrassing it must be to have your entire colony destroyed by this dick.
So this is what you're allowed to do if you don't sign the DARE contract? You can do drugs, kill people with nukes, and run around naked? Dude, I should have never signed that thing. That's so unfair. I had my whole life ahead of me.
Kid. But luckily, she won't have to worry about that, because she's dead and the bottling plant is now ours. On to the next target. This is it, the final park, Kitty Kingdom. As a professional
I'm
YouTuber
not
who
going
owns
there.
a copy of Minecraft,
No, 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 no. Please don't go in there. Please. I like the video. Please don't go in there. I don't want to see a Google Docie the next time I go on Twitter. I'm begging you, man. Your videos are great. Don't do it. Don't do it.
this could be the most dangerous park of them all. Previously a children's theme park
The
with several
Carson
rides
clip.
and a castle, it has now been renovated into an industrial gas chamber, with radioactive fumes being pumped into the area at regular intervals. Also, it's inhabited by hundreds of feral ghouls, which are relatively easy to kill. However, they close distance very quickly, and melee combat has become substantially more hazardous, thanks to the mysterious stranger who sometimes shows up and nukes the shit out of me. The only upside is that I have this cryogenic shoulder pad, which sometimes freezes my
you
enemies
put clothes
solid, at
on.
which point I can take my time knocking off all of their limbs with a baseball bat.
Whoa, that's actually kind of fun. I don't know. That feels like real to be able to have somebody covered in ice and just go, "Ice to meet ya."
Anyway, our goal here is to defeat Oswald the Outrageous and seize control of the park. He's hiding somewhere, and I decided to start my search in the funhouse. Upon entering, we had to navigate a labyrinth of mirrors, which was
Oh, hell
fairly
no.
easy because none of the mirrors were reflective.
Oh.
Instead, they appeared to be coated in several layers of dried ejaculant.
Ew.
However, while I was marveling at the artisanal craftsmanship of the mirrors, I failed
On an unrelated note, guys, clean off your monitors, please.
to notice the several landmines scattered about the floor. After limping my way through the maze, I spot Oswald in this control room. I attempt to get closer, and he throws a grenade at me. What a dick. From here, I engage in what was either high-level platforming or low-level astronaut training, before entering the hallway of hypnosis. I won't lie, this part was
whoa.
actually mildly disorienting.
I'd
In
probably
fact, at
throw
one
up.
point,
I
I had
hate
to use a
this.
dead guy just to confirm I wasn't actually hallucinating. I fumbled my way through this section and into a spinning room with about 2 dozen doors all around it. One door led to that thing that happens when you open OBS. Another
is
presented
Squid
us with the
Game.
illusion of a happy family. And of course, there was the classic room full of flamethrowers.
I hate when that happens at the local carnival, man. I hate it, I hate it, I hate it. I just turn around.
Positively delightful. By the time I found the correct door,
Raymond!
Oswald had already escaped, so I moved on to search for him in King Cola's castle. Never mind. It turns out the park has more traps than I thought, not
All
the least of
bombs.
which are the amusement rides themselves. In fact, I have personally witnessed several park employees being killed, maimed, or otherwise dismembered by
What's the name of there's like a park of North. Oh, it's like Adventure Park or Action Park. This is Action Park.
the rides here, and it's only been like 20 minutes. Of course, I had to try this for myself with the roller coaster
Aw,
carts,
he
and
gets
I
a ride
realized
to
that it's a lot
heaven.
like boxing. When you expect to get hit, it doesn't do that much damage, but it's the punch you don't see coming that will decimate you.
Oh.
After this, I strolled around the park a bit more, killing ghouls and rummaging through garbage bins, until I wandered my way into some employee tunnels. I sprinted through the tunnels like a wild animal, at which point I found Oswald talking to one of his staff members in his office.
Crazy
Naturally, I
old
wanted to
days.
return the grenade he had thrown at me earlier. This did not work,
Oh.
and I felt like an idiot.
See, every time you laugh at a bird who runs into a window, it could happen to anybody, okay? How about you stifle your laughter and realize it's a common mistake?
So I just kind of took that one on the chin. But it wasn't all bad, because after Oswald disappeared in a puff of
whoa.
smoke, I
Where'd
went
he
into the
go?
office and
Cotton
found
Eye
my
Joe?
next stylistic evolution. Oh yeah, this is gonna work just fine. Alright, well that does it. There's only one place left for Oswald to be hiding, the theater. I broke in with all the grace of a homeless drug addict and started talking with Oswald. He was trying
was
to
on
convince
his
me that
face?
he
Was
has
that
magical
mayonnaise?
abilities, and he said he was going to show me one of his greatest tricks. Then
Yes!
he punched me in the head and ran away. Truly
I think he took his credit card. I think he took his credit card.
a master of the mystical arts. I followed him up to the roof, where he gave me some shitty story about being a sympathetic villain. But at this point, I was so
I don't know why, I just think being a magician is so cool. I had a magic kit when I was a kid, and I remember that in the magic kit, it came with a little bottle of citric acid, and I kept going into my closet. I would look around to make sure nobody was in my room. I would go in my closet, and I would eat the citric acid, and it took me a month to eat all of it.
tired of chasing him around the park and getting hit by roller coasters that I opted for immediate violence. In response, Oswald unleashed his most powerful magic trick of all, crashing my game.
Ah, I hate when
3 minutes later, we were back, and the fight was on. Oswald was much higher level than me, and he had a grand time cutting off my limbs with his fancy sword. However, I managed to counter this by simply jumping over a railing, at which point he could no longer stab me. His method of coping with this was to bathe me in Molotov cocktails, but they don't hurt that much, and I've got enough drugs to stay up here for weeks. I am aware that this tactic borders on cheating, so I'm prepared to negotiate. Instead of staying up here and nuking Oswald into oblivion, I will instead empty out the entire contents of my junk section into the junk jet and kill Oswald with the physical manifestations of my hoarding disorder. This included everything from light bulbs to rolls of duct tape.
Ow! Wait, think about it. A light bulb hitting you out of a gun would actually be so painful. I would rather get hit with a nuke than 20 light bulbs to my face. Ow!
But the primary ingredient was 156 stacks of pre-war money, which I spent the next 20 minutes bouncing off Oswald's head. This was very enjoyable, albeit not especially effective, because Oswald seems to legitimately be invincible. I shot him with 200 junk items, he barely noticed, ran him into 6 fragmentation mines, he walked it off, and even when I got desperate enough to nuke him, he would just reset his health bar.
What?
This kind of freaked me out, so I panicked and shot him like 50 times, at which point I realized he wasn't damage immune, just damage resistant, and now he's dead. I stole his clothing in order to complete my Charlie and the Chocolate Factory cosplay, and quickly raised the flag on Kitty Kingdom, indicating our complete conquest over Nuka World.
Barry the type of person to get hit in the head with a light bulb and go, Eureka. Is that what you think about me? Because I probably would do that.
World. All that's left to do is to go to the power station and press the big red button to finally power up the park.
Oh, I
And
cannot
just like
resist
that,
hitting a big
we
red
are the
button.
CEO of the world's finest slavery-themed amusement park, which gives us quite a few benefits.
I mean,
For example,
no.
all of the rides are now operational.
Ooh.
And I can't confirm this, but it is my personal headcanon that we're receiving our electricity from a small armada of slaves running on hamster wheels. Also, we can even gather up a gang of raiders and go out into the Commonwealth to recruit more employees through what I like to call competitive hiring practices. So now that we've achieved our primary goal, what's left
What's he
for
doing
us?
in the water?
Well, according to mustache enthusiast Christopher Vogler, the final stage of the hero's journey is to return home as a changed man. In our
Yes.
case, that would be Sanctuary, and as a matter of fact, I am a changed man. Because
What does that one guy always say in this game? He's a settlement needs your help. A settlement needs your help.
whatever final thread of sanity had previously prevented me from killing all of these people has finally been severed.
Yay! Fireworks! Hey, I think those fireworks a little too good. Dum, bum, 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 ba-da-dum, dum. Ba-da-dum, bum. Ba-da-dum, bum. They're all having like an out-of-body experience. Oh my god!
Well, it's finally over. We've conquered a world where the only projectile ever invented was nuclear bombs. I want to thank this month's patrons for supporting the channel. Don't forget to check out Makeship to purchase and abuse my likeness. And finally, thank you for watching.
Oh, me? He thanked me! Oh, wait, this song. Guys, I looked away for 1 second and then I looked at my screen and it says, cook meth, eat the poor. Well, that was a really good video. I liked it. I like when people do challenge runs. If you guys have any other challenge run suggestion videos, please let me know. I love watching people do challenge runs. I think it's so fun. And I like whenever people have like a idea. I don't know. I like gameplay videos that have a centralized idea. I think it's cool.